Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Behind the Group podcast. I am DJ Keo.
And I am Basil Barrington, and we are back with another review. Today, we are going to take a look at Pluto. This is a Netflix anime series, 8 episodes. IMDb thus far gave it an 8.4. That's with about 5,200 reviews. And man, this show was, I will say this though, for me,
Mm-hmm.
I had to watch about 2 or 3 episodes to really wrap not to get into it, but
Yeah,
to wrap my head around it. What do you think?
yeah. Because the way the show's designed, like it just starts. It assumes you know everything, or
Yeah.
you're up to date in the universe, what's going on, and it's got heavy topics because it's talking about war. We're talking about what's the country? Iran. Was Iran? Was the country they're
Persia.
dealing with the
Some Persia.
Persia?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
So they're you're
crazy.
dealing with the a war there,
Mm-hmm.
and you're dealing with the America. This is Thresher now. United States of Thresher is
It's
America,
crazy, right?
and yeah. So like, there's geopolitical stuff in there. Then there's the question, the biblical question about what is humanity, and then you have like a murder mystery thing going on at the same time, and it's crazy. Like the amount of effort that they put into this show is incredible because visually it looks stunning, but
Yeah.
the topics are like they're dense. Like they're not light topics where you could watch the show while you're cooking food or whatever. Like you have to sit down and pay
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
So like for some people that could be like a knock on it, and for other people like they want to watch something interesting, this is more so a plus. Like you have to watch it because it's really good. Like hands down, it's one of the best I think
It's
animes I've seen in the last couple of years.
Yeah. When I watched the first episode, I was kind of doing some stuff. And then I was like, no, no, I had to watch the first episode over again. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, you got to really sit down and watch this. You can't be playing around doing other stuff, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
I was doing some like research on this joint because again, this is new for it's almost like One Piece. This is
Mm.
new for us, right? So this is basically part of the Astro Boy series, right? And Astro Boy
Yeah.
was created like in 1952,
Like
but
1960, 50?
well, it was created in 52 and then adapted
Mm.
into an anime for a TV series in 1963. Basically,
Mm.
Pluto is about 8 volumes. I think that they gave us the 8 volumes in this series. I think so. It
Yeah, they
felt
did the
that
full
way.
thing.
They
They
did the
did the
full
full
thing?
story.
Okay. Yeah, man. This
And
is,
it's like an exact copy as far as
yeah.
I can tell. Like they just there's scenes in the the cartoon, the anime, that's directly from the manga. Like so there's parts of it
Mhm.
they redrew it for modern audiences, but
Yeah.
kept everything else the same. So
Yeah.
like it's fascinating watching it because like for me, I've heard of Astro Boy and I don't think I've ever watched Astro Boy before. Like I've seen it before, I've heard about it, but I've never watched it before. So like they did, there's like 8 or 9. There's a bunch of different versions of Astro Boy.
Yeah.
So they have the
Excuse me.
cutesy fun version from
Yeah.
1960 something,
Hmm.
and then they did an updated version in 1980, and then they did that's like a more modern thing, and I think this is where this story came from, was from the 1980 story, and then they did a updated version in 2000, I think 2000 something, and then they did this,
Yeah.
and so this is a recreation of one of the stories, one of the major storylines, but it it's amazing. Like I didn't realize all this stuff was going on about this Astro Boy series. That's the thing. Like it's like One Piece. Like there's a whole world out here of
Hmm.
content that went right over my head because I'm like focused on other stuff.
Yeah.
But it is, I can't stress this enough.
This is a huge sort of like world, right? What's really
Yeah, yeah,
interesting to me about like this Astro Boy stuff is like it came out as a children's animated series, right? And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
wait a
There's
minute,
like
a
they got
children's
morals
animated
and
series? I mean, you're dealing with
yeah.
like discrimination, you're dealing with
Mm.
just like identity, morality, all that stuff, like, and it's just like in death and everything. And I'm like, this is a kids. I mean, what are they
Well,
doing
no,
in
because
Japan?
there's there's different versions of it. So they did a kid version, and then they did a more mature manga version of
Hmm.
it, and this is the more mature version because this is bloody hell. This is bloody as hell. It is very mature. The topics they're talking about. They got white supremacists in there. Like it got everything in here.
Yo,
So like it's wild that, but like this is the mature adult version of the kids cartoon from 1960 something.
you know,
And
believe it or
yeah,
not, the 1963 cartoon animated series,
mm-hmm.
I mean, Astro Boy as the robot, that Dr. Temo created. Dude,
Mm-hmm.
he's killing people. He's Swiss cheesing people. This is a
Yeah,
children's like animated series. I'm like, in 1963.
yeah.
You're right. I kind of heard of it growing up, but I really didn't
Mm-hmm.
watch it. I didn't know where to watch it. I mean, I'm not even sure. But wow, man. So Pluto is because you have Pluto and then you have Bora, and I was kind of confused there between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
It seems that Bora created, like Bora had the ability to create these like destructive robots. Is that what you're seeing or what you're hearing?
I thought it was the doctor, the Abdullah from Persia.
Yeah, that's
He
Bora.
created this thing,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah,
Dr. Tema transferred his body over. He didn't even know. He thought he was real. So like it's complicated. There's
it's
twists and turns
complicated,
throughout the
dude.
storyline.
Let me
It's
ask you
very
this here, right?
complicated.
What do you think about
Yeah.
the storyline that robots are treated the same as humans? They have feelings, they have rights, you know,
Mhm.
they can sue people. They have rights like humans. What do you think about that storyline?
But I mean, when you get to the part the singularity where AI achieves consciousness, so we're gonna have that problem here. That's gonna be a huge problem, and we're not that far off, right? Everyone
Yeah,
thinks, oh, it's 100 years from now. It's not 100 years from now. They
man.
are setting us up right now as we speak to get this problem.
AI is here right now, and the weird thing
Yeah.
about it is like, when you give these robots, these AIs, because they had
Mhm.
flesh and everything else, so they were made to look like humans. A lot of times you didn't even know they were robots, right? But when you
Yeah,
give
yeah.
these robots consciousness and like feelings and everything else, right? Then you would have to imagine, because again, these are robots, this is artificial intelligence, AI, right? That then you will have a sect of people, like the anti
Mhm.
robot people, who will do things like introduce hate and,
Mhm.
deceit and all this other stuff into robots. And then you have robots who aren't supposed to kill anyone,
Yeah,
actually out there
she's
killing people.
evil.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's
well,
just
because
like crazy.
this is a huge moral problem you gotta think about. Like, you cannot have these beings made out of metal that can Swiss cheese mofos walking around with weapons, or like you got morally you have to figure something out. And I like the idea from the show that they're asking these moral questions, like what the world would be like if these things are there. And so there's different classes and scales of robots in there. You have the regular soldier guys just following
Yep.
orders.
Hmm.
You have like little children robots
The
that
maids, the
they're just
housekeepers,
running around.
you
Yeah,
know.
housekeepers. You have war robots. And then you have like so you have these human looking robots. And then you have the seven of them that were like the
It's this
highly most advanced
this
ones in the
this the
world.
seven powerful robots who were created to they were
He,
created because um the Persians actually started
yeah, it's part of that
creating.
war thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Because the underlying storyline of the whole show is the war that happened
Right.
in
Hmm.
Persia.
Yeah.
But like, so what I'm saying is that it's fascinating that they look at. So for we had the detective and his wife, who's also a robot.
Yeah.
They adopt a robot that's
Hmm.
not as advanced as them, and they look at that as a child
Yeah.
to them,
Hmm.
which to me was fascinating because like I was looking like they're all three robots, but because it's not as advanced as they are, they're like, this is a kid robot to us, and they want
Yeah.
to adopt it. So like the morally and you're asking some really interesting questions about the classes and stuff like that, and what they value, and like emotions, because the robots are crying up the storm
Yeah.
on this show. It's a bunch of robots crying, they're tearing up. So like it's asking a lot of really interesting questions that we don't get from a lot of these new TV shows right now. And I liked it for that, as well as the mystery of what's going on, because I didn't know anything was going on. I had no
Nothing.
idea who's who or what's what. I didn't figure out the Astro Boy connection until you told me. Well, I was like
Dude,
halfway through. I was like, "Oh shit, it's Astro!" Like,
yo,
"Oh,
the
okay."
weird thing about it was the other thing was like the robots actually had the ability to adopt robots.
Yes.
I mean, dude, the writing, the writing. I was telling you, we were talking offline, and
Mhm.
I was telling you that you know the writing is so amazing, and a lot of it felt like just a poetry reading. Like people were just speaking
Mhm.
poetry
Yeah.
during some
Yeah.
segments of the series. I was like, this writing, I was so like involved in like what they were saying. I was like, this person is speaking like poetry. I was like, this
Mhm.
joint is like, dude, this was so fascinating that when I was watching it, like I said, I became so involved in it that I was
Mhm.
just like, when I started watching it, I was like, I was really watching it late at night when there was nothing else going on, so I can just be like completely by myself and
Mhm.
like totally concentrated on this show. And I was like,
Mhm.
wow, man, this joint is this show. The writing was like 100%. The writing was a 10. This I mean, it was crazy. I was like, wow, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
ridiculous, man.
It's funny that you said that. Like it consumes your time when you're watching.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of shows and movies that you can watch and still
Hmm.
do other things, or not fully invested in or paying attention. This thing consumes all of your time.
Right.
The second you press play and the thing starts up, you're invested into seeing what's happening here.
Yeah.
Which to me is that's one of the most interesting things about it, because you know I don't pay attention to a lot of these shows like on this level. Like I'm watching it, but like you're still watching, like Fast and Furious or whatever. Like you can take a nap and catch up to whatever happened in the
He's
middle of
still
the
going to be
movie,
driving
whatever.
a
Not a big
car up
deal.
a building.
Yeah. Like,
you
right,
know?
that's what I'm saying. Like you you don't need to your whole entire time and investment watching the screen. Like you can't look away for a second. You have to pay attention.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if it's a tall ask for people who are not fans of this kind of stuff. Like this is a particular type of show, and content. And so like normies, just regular people don't like this stuff. You will never get into this movie or TV show if you're not like, you don't like this kind of storylines or whatever. You're not gonna like it. It's not gonna be for you. But if
Mhm.
you are interested, it is quality. I can't stress this enough. It is
I
high
think,
quality.
well, man, this is like definitely high quality. I think like what listeners and viewers should know that we are going
Mhm.
into this like completely not knowing about this entire space, right? We are new to this. Just like we were
Mhm.
new to One Piece. We are new to this. And
Mhm.
again, this was completely fascinating. I think the fact that, you had these seven robots, these seven powerful robots. For you, who was the most interesting robot out of the seven powerful for you?
I think Epsilon
Oh, really?
is, yeah.
Epsilon felt like he should have been working. He should have been like an executive director at a nonprofit or something
Yeah,
like
like
that.
she's like supermodel robot
Right,
warrior or whatever.
like
But
had the
like,
kids and
like, because
everything.
his storylines deeper into the series, like towards the end of the
Yeah,
series.
right.
But like I think the thing that was interesting to me, at least, is that there's a reason why he was like, I can't get involved.
Yeah,
And you notice that when we get to the storyline when he's in Persia during the war, and he just annihilates this entire city and just walks outside like nothing happened. You're like, yo, this guy's a problem. And if he was fighting people and with this kind of level of power, like people would have died. Like lots of people would have died, more so than what happened in the war. So like he's kind of like doing you a favor by not getting involved. But
yeah.
like everybody looked at him like he's a coward or whatever. But I think that storyline or that aspect of it was interesting to me, about how like he couldn't do it. Like he chose to step out, and that's that's a wild take on something like that when everyone's fighting robots and stuff like that. There's a robot that's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna take care of kids. Like
Yeah.
that's a wild storyline right there.
I think the other thing is like when who is it here? Let me see here. So the person, the voice of Hercules, Richard Epcar, he played Batu. He did the voice of Batu in Ghost in the
Okay.
Shell,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know. So I was like, because I heard his voice and I was like, wow, right? But Hercules and like some other like robots like Mont Blanc, we really didn't know
Mhm.
sort of their
Yeah,
arc,
you didn't really
but
see anything about him. He was the first one dead. You're like, okay, this is what's going on.
right, exactly. I think North 2 was really interesting. That was the guy who
Yeah.
was who wanted to learn how to play the piano, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just like, wow, it was just like,
The
okay, this
composer
guy's,
guy was he's a
I'm
hater.
telling you, right? He was just like an old hag. He was just like, get away from me. You're a robot. You're stupid as anything. Because we know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Gesicht um, is like a really compelling character, right? And the other
Yeah.
thing
Yeah. Well, the show is really about him more
right,
so than anything else.
but you know what? We thought the show was, I thought the show was about him until the last episode. And it's just like, oh, it's coming back to Astro Boy.
Yeah. The whole thing, because Astro Boy took the side, he took a side seat
Hmm.
for 6 episodes of the series.
Yeah.
Because he came in like the second or third episode. I
Uh,
think kids came in like I think
yeah,
the
I think
third
the third
episode.
episode. That's like during that episode, I was like, oh no, they have the kids in here.
Yeah, but like he doesn't do anything. He's just there and just introducing him,
Hmm.
and then he disappears for like four more episodes,
Yeah.
and he only shows up towards the end when they bring him back to life.
Yeah.
So it's really Astro Boy show, but
Hmm.
you don't realize it.
Yeah. And what's interesting is like when Astro Boy died again, you know,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah,
they put basically Gesichts or AI, chip into him as well.
they
So
put it
that
into him. That's what
introduced,
brought him back.
yeah, that introduced hate because remember, Gesicht, someone like one of the anti-robot people killed his son, his robot son, and he killed him.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's why
yeah.
he was having these illusions and everything else, these dreams and
Hmm.
these nightmares. And I was just like, again, a robot, AI having nightmares. That's like the
Yeah.
fascination of this, man. This is like this show was so political. Think
Hmm.
about that. This is an anime, and it was so political. There was levels of discrimination in here, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's so weird that even in this show here, this is something that was created in 52, 63, and there
Hmm.
was still levels of discrimination in here, right? Even against a robot. It's just like
Hmm.
discrimination is not going away.
Yeah, no, I think it's part of people's lives going forward.
Yeah,
Like, who's the minority you're gonna have to deal with this,
yeah.
and like whatever's new, more so than anything else, it's what's new
Mhm.
that's gonna deal with discrimination. But like robots being, 'cause the way robots are put into that society, they're a vital part of it. So I think there's obviously going to be people that are against having them be this important to the culture or to society, but they're vital to it. They're
Yeah.
doing regular jobs, like doing deliveries. They're doing everything.
Mhm.
So you need them, but I for sure I feel like humans would be there could be a section of humans that would be annoyed by it, and a section of humans that be happy about it.
Right.
Like the same thing with like a cell phone. Like cell phones are vital to our lives now. But when they first came out, like people were like, "Get this crap out of here!
Yeah.
Bring my rotary phone!"
A
Like
lot of them
what
were
I'm saying?
not,
Like they,
they weren't even accessible to a lot of people too.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's too expensive. Like so that I mean that's gonna be the same thing here. When
Hmm.
robots come to our society, like actual real robots that people can buy and use and they're useful, like we're gonna have huge problems mentally with how to deal with them, and then we're gonna get to the iRobot phase where they're just everywhere and everyone accepts it, and there's good people that don't accept it. But I think that it's the gradual aspect of it that just slowly works its way into it is the thing that makes people accept it. Because if you just dump it on everybody quickly, like I don't think robots will last. They're not going to survive. Like people
No.
were. people are angry about migrants and people just crossing the border right now. So add robots into it where they have any feelings, like that's a wrap. I don't think that's gonna work out.
If you just take away the fact that it's anime, and if you want to watch something that
Mhm.
this could be any like political discrimination, AI, robotic sort of like, show anywhere on like, any
Mhm.
streaming service, right?
Yeah.
The way that they put this together, the way that they released it, they took the 8 volumes. And the other thing is this, right? These anime series, they're generally like 25-minute episodes. These were like over an hour
That's a
long
full hour.
episodes.
You're
Yeah.
watching 8 movies,
You're watching
basically.
8 movies. Thank you, Keo. You're watching eight
Yeah.
movies. So
Mhm.
this joint, man, this is for me, Pluto is one of the most fascinating shows I've watched in 2023.
Yeah.
Period.
We're talking about the concepts of the show, right? The storyline is that there's a serial killer for robots
There's a
and there's a
serial killer
mystery.
for robots, dude.
There's a
Listen to
murder
that.
mystery going on.
And it was
Yes.
created by the scientists who created Astro Boy.
Yeah. Well, it's connection to it.
Right.
So it's like the step down because Tema created Astro Boy,
Mm-hmm.
but he also created that Dr. Abdullah guy
Bora.
who's doing all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
who created Bora, created all this other stuff.
Yep.
So like he's the top of the pyramid, and I like that. Usually when they show you that, they just tell you, oh, this guy's super smart. Like they showed you how smart he was. Like it was clear as day that he's one of the smartest humans on Earth, and like his aspect of like what he's created here is is phenomenal. Like it's mind boggling to put it like that. Like there's so much stuff, like the
Excuse me.
intricate cuts of everything that's there together is mind boggling. But like the core of the storyline is the this guy is destroying out for revenge,
Mm-hmm.
killing all of the most important robots on Earth
Yep.
and the people involved that helped create the war
Yep.
in Persia.
Mm-hmm.
So like the humans that were involved in that process,
Yeah.
because they had like I think they had like weapons inspectors, or I wouldn't, they're not calling them weapons inspectors like
Mm-hmm.
like they went to Iraq, but like that kind of concept.
Yeah.
So they're killing them too, and out for revenge. And this dude's basically an autopilot because he's a robot. He doesn't even know what's going on. So all of that's crazy in itself. But the world that they built, because it's not, the thing is though, when we're watching these shows, like it's like when they build these worlds, like it's a little tiny place. This thing feels expansive.
Yeah. It's
Like you're going
huge.
around the world.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing different parts of the place. Like everything's different. It doesn't feel like just one area is the same thing. They just painted a different color on it. Like it feels grandiose, to put it mildly. And that's the bulk of the storyline right there.
Yeah.
But the way they weaved it together is so interesting.
Right.
And yeah, I was hooked. Once you got to get through the first two shows, and then
And
you're once you get caught up and figure out what's going on,
right.
you're gonna be in. You can't help it.
And not that, it takes 2 episodes because it's not good, but it's complicated. It's a good
Yes, there's a
complication,
lot of
right?
stuff going on, and you
Right.
need to know
Uh-huh.
who's who and why.
I wasn't really sure like about this bra 1589, but it was like he was the
Hmm.
first robot to kill a human. And so they just
Yes.
basically had him locked up. They were like, dude, you're locked up. They had like, boom, he had something in his chest. It was just like, and when Gesicht went to him to ask him questions, and then once
Hmm.
Astro Boy got like Gesicht's like AI, he also went
Hmm.
back and was like, yo, how do you kill Pluto? How do you kill
Hmm.
this guy?
Yeah.
So Astro Boy, because he now has the power of Gesicht and also Astro Boy combined, man.
Hmm.
This is dude, I'm trying to find everything else that's available on streaming services that's attached
Hmm.
to this. One of the things you really kind of have to start with this Astro Boy is 73 episodes. 73 episodes, right?
That's a lot, man. That's a
That's
lot.
that's a lot, dude. I don't know if I could do 73 episodes. But then you have monsters, and a lot of
Hmm.
people who are into this stuff, they say that monsters from this world is the best.
Hmm.
It's the best,
Really?
right? Yeah.
Okay.
and I think it's a Monsters is available on Amazon. You can check it out on Amazon. No. I'm sorry, it's
Okay.
available on Netflix. But it's like
Okay.
6 or 7 episode seasons. So you really gotta you gotta bubble up on the dude.
You gotta commit to this. It's not
You
a I feel like doing this today or whatever. You gotta commit to it.
you
But
have to
it's
commit
worth it
to
though.
it.
It's
Yeah,
absolutely worth it.
because these robots have emotions, dude. They're totally scarred. They have
Mhm.
war injuries because they had to kill their own fellow robots. They have these scars still with them. I mean, think
Yeah.
about that. I mean, wow,
Mhm.
insane.
Yeah, because they're that advanced that they're emotional about what they're doing. Because the other robots, they're just like, go do this thing and this task.
Yeah,
Whereas these guys, they have the emotions and mentally they can understand what's happening and why.
yeah.
And this show's asking a lot of important, tough questions about the future, and that's the part that makes it so interesting to me. Just that you're asking really good questions that we need to start tackling right now before we get to the 2030 or whatever the year this thing is going to be.
These are serious questions that you really don't get in a lot of films that are made in North America and
Yes.
Europe. And again,
Yeah.
this is an anime asking these questions, right? This
Yeah.
isn't the Transformers, people robots fighting each other just because they want a planet that's not even Earth, right? It's just
hmm
they're asking real questions like, how would the human race react to having robots, artificial intelligence inserted side by side into
hmm
society, right?
Yeah.
Heavy duty questions, right? And you still have that sect of people who are just in Pluto, anti-robots. They're like, we don't want robots because we want to be able to just be dumb and do stupid things we've been doing for centuries. It's just we want to
Yeah.
discriminate. We want to kill people. We want to rob people. It's watching this show. It made me a little sad because these are the things we're dealing with now, right? And again, like I
hmm
said, when you watch these alien invasion movies, it's just they're coming to Earth to destroy us because they see us as dumb,
hmm
as idiots.
Well, we are getting dumber though. That's the problem. Is this true? Society's getting very stupid. So
Wow,
I don't know how close we are to making artificial intelligence. It seems like we're fast tracking that thing right now. So who knows?
it's here.
But I think the biggest problem we have with the robots is we don't have power source.
Yeah.
There's no way to keep the guys walking around outside of 5 minutes. So that's our
Well,
saving grace is that we don't have power.
so we are talking about Pluto. It's available on Netflix. It is 8 episodes and it is
Mhm.
extremely fascinating. It is anime, but believe me, you will be completely involved in this show. So, Keo, man, what are you gonna rate Pluto?
I give it a 10. And I didn't think initially when I first started watching, I didn't think I would give it a 10 because I was like, oh my God, man,
Mhm.
this is a chore watching this thing. But once I got into it, I really understood what was because the key part is that you don't have any information when you start. It just starts.
Yeah.
And then you got to catch up on your own. So that because of that, it was it took me a second to figure out who's who and why, all that stuff going on. Once I caught on to what's happening, I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And visually it is gorgeous. Like it's stunning visually.
Yeah.
So that alone, I was like, yeah, this is 10 easily.
Yeah. I am also giving this a 10. This show for me is definitely the best anime for 2023 for me.
Mm,
It may be the best show for 2023. I mean, I'm even talking about this above foundation at this point, right?
mm,
That's how thought
yeah.
provoking it is, right? And the writing was so brilliant on this joint. Just again, like I said, it was almost like poetry. A lot of the
Mm,
episodes felt like a poetry reading, you know,
yeah.
and just everything, all the sort of societal mishaps that they touched on in this show. And again, this is something that was created in the 50s and 60s and just
Mm,
translated to today, and it's just They were thinking about this in the 50s and 60s, and now look where we are today. Fascinating
Yeah,
show. This is anime. This is not a kid show. This is a
it
serious
is
show.
not. It is a
No, this
serious
is
show.
not a kid show. You need to go check it out. Well, there you have it. Thanks for checking out another episode of the Behind the Groove podcast. I am Basil Barrington.
I am DJ Keo.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, peace.